Hello, everyone. This is Theo from Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and listen out for new episodes every Friday. Follow us on Instagram and leave us a comment at Making It Make Sense IJT, or email us at Making It Make Sense with IJT at gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo. Today, we're going to talk about the Dave Chapelle drama. Dun, dun, dun.
Lord, help us, Black Jesus.
And I'm sure everyone's aware about the Dave Chappelle drama. He had a comedy special come out on Netflix.
Probably about a week ago now, or
I think 2 weeks ago,
or 2 weeks
yeah,
ago?
no week ago, last week, last
A
Friday or
week ago,
Thursday.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Was it
came
long?
out. Dave Chappelle, I think, is the closer. It came out on Netflix, and ever since it came out like that Friday, it's been a topic of conversation. Some people think he made very transphobic jokes, homophobic jokes, jokes towards the LGBT community that were no bueno, and so we're going to talk about that and hash it out. And let's start with Isaiah.
Not hash it out.
um. All right, so I'm just gonna open with I've never been really like a Dave Chappelle fan. So the cancel culture that comes with it, I have nothing for that because I can't cancel somebody that I've never been a fan of to begin with. Um, it's just not my it's just not my brand of listen, it's comedy's subjective, but I mean, I just, the whole oh, get over it, it's a joke, it is used a little too frequently in a lot of other similar situations. So to me it's just all right, well, I already don't fuck with you, so so I don't it's really just kind of another notch, oh, okay, cool, so you are trash, peace. So that's how I feel. I mean, I'll go into it further, but I'm gonna pass the baton over.
Yes, I concur with Isaiah on his stance on with this whole Dave Chappelle special. I just I just found it inappropriate. Like it's the jokes he was making pertaining to the trans community and LGBT community. I found it inappropriate. I just didn't think it was I wish he would use better judgment because when you write these jokes, because we know he writes all his jokes. So when he wrote them, I would have thought that he would have took the time to just because we live in a different time. It's a whole different era, and he's aware of that because we are in a different time. So the sensitivity level is heightened. So I would have thought that he would have put more of the thought into that when he wrote his jokes, and I would have expected Netflix to also have put more thought into that because they've been in the hot seat for having other controversial things on their network, like the little girls dressing as cheerleaders and dancing inappropriately. Like, so I would think they would have been trying to gear away from being in another controversial situation, but it's clear they have not. So yeah, I'm gonna pass on to Dave's biggest fan. Dave, your biggest fan, Theo Fox.
Not as big as fan.
Ha, ha, ha. Well, I'm a Dave Chappelle fan. Dave Chappelle makes me cry with laughter. I've been a fan of Dave Chappelle since like 2005, 2004, when his show was on, and I was disappointed when his show was off. I saw this not documentary. I'm sorry, damn, um, comedy special, and I did not. I wasn't offended by anything that Dave Chappelle said. I found him to be funny. It was hysterical. I think that his brand of comedy is thought provoking, and it makes you ask questions about yourself and about the people around you. If that makes sense.
Not thought provoking. Well, yeah, it's thought provoking. Yeah, I, yeah. It provokes some thoughts, all right, some impure thoughts. So we gonna leave that alone.
I think his comedy um, I think his comedy is just ridiculously good. And once again, I think he the conversations that we're having, not necessarily about Dave Chappelle, because once again, Dave Chappelle is just a comedian. To me, he's a jester,
Mm.
and a jester in the grand scheme of thing is not important. Now, if Dave Chappelle was a congressman, a senator, a representative, and he was making these kind of jokes, that's a problem for me. Because when someone that's in power that can make legislation to impact LGBTQ plus lives is making these kinds of jokes, they got a problem. They can impact. Dave Chappelle, the comedian, the jester, is not controlling anything that's happening in the kingdom. And just
Hmm.
Dave Chappelle has an expiration date. These
Hmm.
legislators, these legislations, these senators, these presidents, these people who have the power to oppress and suppress LGBT plus folks are the ones that are in control. Dave Chappelle is not. So he's just a comedian. Also, reflecting a mirror back to our face about the way that we think and the way that we interact with one another and in the world.
I'm gonna have to respectfully rebuttal that with a response as you're saying that you don't really take or you don't consider his voice as a big enough because he's not a congressman or someone of importance, but he has a voice that's very powerful. He has millions of fans that follow his word and that love and enjoy his comedy. He has a million, billion, probably a billion fans at this point that listen to him and that that love enjoys comedy, and a lot of his fan base is heterosexual, is from the heterosexual community, and so I just think that his voice is powerful, and that the things he was saying, the jokes that he made about the trans community in general, only push the narrative that heterosexual people think about trans women and trans people in general. So I think him doing that gave them another some ammunition. So now it gave them like the clearance to say, okay, he made jokes about transgender and about trans women. So now we can do it because they did it. So I think his voice is very powerful, and that's the problem for me is that he's aware that he has a voice, but he doesn't care that his voice affects people and that his voice is can control people's thoughts.
And I just want to add that um, to me, it's a broader conversation than just about him. That man. It's a
Yes.
it's a broader conversation than that because it's always okay for queer people to be the butt of heteronormative jokes.
Hmm.
Okay, it's always fine. It's always get over it. It's always okay for like heteronormative people to make comment or create commentary on us. But if we did, and this is the thing, I feel like it's a little strange because didn't he leave the Dave Chappelle show because he felt like white people were too comfortable with his brand of humor on that show? From what I understand, that was a part of his decision to not continue with that.
Hmm.
So, like almost as if to say, okay, well, this comedy is for Black people, it's not for you. Right. So I just feel like, so then why is there not an understanding that, okay, maybe go joke about that privately? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if that's who you are, great. If some people want to laugh at it and think it's funny, awesome. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny particularly because there's trans people out here being killed and murdered, and you know what I'm saying. So I just think to me it's not humorous, partially based on those reasons. Um, like I don't think I don't know. I just don't think it's productive. For other straight or heterosexual rather Black men to kind of just be like, oh yeah, and like rooting them on, and we're not canceling him. Ain't nobody got to cancel him. For me, I just choose to be like, okay, I'm not in agreement with you because you're using your platform. So even if he is not a policymaker, he's not a politician, he's not a lawmaker, He has a really large platform, and with large platforms like that come responsibility for the things that you do and say.
Yeah, I see him as a clown. Clowns have followings. Yeah, it has a big following, but isn't going to make. Is not going to make any decisions that really impact our lives. And once again, and also just to say, I am not transgender. I am not someone that's non-binary. So gender to me is very important. To me, gender is important. That's why I identify as a male. That's why I identify as a cisgender male. So I don't subscribe to the gender non-binary. I am not trans. I don't come from that experience. I don't understand that experience. I support it. I advocate for it. I'm an ally to it. But that isn't my experience. So I'm also speaking from a place of ignorance. I'm speaking from a place of privilege because those things will never impact my life. I subscribe to gender, and I subscribe to being a and a male that has accept the gender that was assigned to him at birth.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also speaking from that place. So I don't know if I was trans or non-binary, how the jokes would have impacted me in a different way. And and it's difficult for me to have empathy without erasing my existence and my experience. I don't know if that makes sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. But I it don't to me it doesn't make sense to me because you don't have to erase your existence to understand how offensive something can be. I think that 'cause if you talk to trans people, because I've talked to them, I had conversations, and some of them were offended. Like a lot of them were offended. They didn't find the
But then
joke
some of
humorous.
them were not, like his
So
friend.
but I'm speaking of
Well,
trans people. I'm saying trans because that's what you see. Because I'm not trans, so I'm hearing from the trans people. Their voices, a lot of them did not find the jokes funny at all. They found it very offensive, and they were offended and felt like he
now,
shouldn't have made those jokes. So
can I also interject and say that, and I hear you, Theo, but can I also interject and say this, that that's kind of like, and this is the way I my perspective about it, or the way I think about it,
Oh, go
is
ahead.
that's kind of like a white person saying, I don't empathize with you about your Black experience because I don't understand it. And when allyship is part of allyship is sympathizing or empathizing on some level, right?
Oh God.
So you
Mm.
should be the same way. Last summer, we're calling out our white allies and going, hey, pull up. This is the cookout. I need you to stand alongside me, right? That's like them going, oh well, I'm not Black, so I can't, I don't get it. You know what I'm
No, no,
saying?
no, no. I'm talking in
In my
terms of.
perspective.
I'm talking in terms of this joke.
Hmm.
I'm not talking in terms of
Okay.
the bigger picture. I'm saying maybe because I am not trans
Okay.
and I don't identify with that experience, and
Okay.
that's why maybe this is not hitting me like
The same way. Okay.
with like a bag of bricks,
Okay.
like it would a trans person. Because it should be, and I'm being honest, I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand what's the big deal.
Mm.
And I am cognizant enough to say that I don't understand because I genuinely do not subscribe to being transgender, and I genuinely do not subscribe to being non-binary.
Right.
That's why I say I am a cisgender man. I accept the gender roles. I accept those things, and that's by saying that I'm cisgender, I accepting what a lot of people are rejecting.
So I guess also like and you bring up a good point with that, like in saying that. So for example, I accept that I'm a cisgendered man, but that's also because emotionally and mentally, for me, I don't desire to not be who I was born as biologically, because I can't make myself feel that way. It's just it's not, I'm existing in my natural headspace, if you will, right? So I accept it. However, if someone else doesn't, which I'm sure you agree with this, obviously, if someone else does not, because their body and their mind and their soul tells them that this is not who I am, I accept that as well. You understand what I mean? And so because of that, like I look over at someone else and I just go, okay, this is my transgendered brother or sister. Like I also, and maybe it's also because like I view it as being, because we're all a part of the queer community in that sense. I view it as a win for one of us is a win for all of us. A win or a disappointment or a knockdown for one part of the community is also cascade is supposed to cascade through the whole community, because it's supposed to be a queer collective, like LGBTQ plus. Uh, even though transgender people have a different journey than us, to me it's pulling up like hey, okay, we're in this together. So for me, I experience it as, if I feel like something is hurtful to one of the other letters in our queer community, that's hurtful across the board.
Yeah, but I don't. But that's the thing, and that's why I question myself, Theo. Why don't you find this to be hurtful?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't this hurtful to me?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it entertaining to me? And is it just me living in my privilege? Is it me living in my world, in my, because I am what I am. I am a cisgender queer man. I don't subscribe to a lot of, when I hear folks being non-binary, that's great for you, but that's not me. And we experience the world differently.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm also a masculine presenting queer man, I experience the world differently. It's not that I'm not empathetic. Everything about me is empathetic, but I'm
I
speaking
was gonna
about,
say you're very empathetic, so that's why I
yeah.
guess I'm just no. He really is, like, everybody listening, like, and that's why I guess I'm like, just being totally honest here. Like that's why I'm having like a hard time. Like I'm hearing you, so I want to hear what you have to say, and you know, I respect what you have to say at really every time you speak. But
Thank
you know,
you.
yeah,
I
no,
appreciate it.
honestly, and so that's why I think like I'm just like, okay, I really want to understand where you're coming from here.
And also, I'm having this conversation, in real time. I'm processing
Right.
my thoughts in real time, so I'm
Same.
being also vulnerable.
Same.
And again, if when I hear transphobic things, I stand up. I'll be the first in the room to stand up
Yes.
and want to slit
Literally.
someone's throat.
Literally. Yeah.
And yeah, So and I'm in my space right now. I'm like, why didn't I find what Dave Chappelle said offensive?
Cause I'm shocked that you didn't find it offensive. Because like you just said, you be the first one. You beat me and Isaiah to the punch to call
Literally.
out someone about
Yeah.
transphobia. So when it first came out and in your response to it, you didn't see how how it could be offensive or what made it offensive. I was stunned, but I had to understand, like, we all have different eyes, so you may see it. You're going to see it different than I would or Isaiah would or anyone else would. So and for me, 'cause, like, because of course, I'm not a trans person, so I don't live that experience, but I understand how they can be offended because the jokes that he made fed into, like I said earlier, the narrative about trans women and their bodies and biology and all this stuff. And that's what's always said about trans women. It's the main derogatory thing that is said and geared towards trans women. And so when he, hearing that alone, I was like, wow, like, so he's on a big platform. Netflix is huge.
Mhm.
The world has heard him say all this stuff. Like, what was a like? Why would he? Why would he even say that? And then he had a trans friend that passed away years ago, committed suicide. And he mentioned that in his special,
Mhm.
and that perturbed me too because I felt like, well, wow, you had a trans friend, that you adored and that supported you. Why would you make these jokes about her community if this is a close friend to you? Like, I don't understand it because if I have a close friend that wasn't a part of the community as a trans community or any community, I would not go on a platform and make jokes about it because it's not funny because because I know he understands and understood her struggle. So why would he think it'd be okay to make fun and mock it for money? Because at the end of the day, he got a $4 million check to literally sit there and make fun and mock trans people and people in the LGBT community. So that's where the problem comes in for me too. Because if your friend that you adored, who was part of the community, that you are to this right now, you have funded her daughter's life and making sure daughter's taken care of, then why would you sit on this platform and mock her mother's very existence with this joke? Like, I don't get it.
But
Now,
this
okay.
also goes in line with what I said about who I am in a previous podcast that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I do not consider myself queer first. I
Mm-hmm.
consider myself black
Black.
first and foremost.
Okay.
And when
That
Dave
track.
Chappelle
Yeah.
and when Dave Chappelle was talking, he was also talking about the fact that gay white people have the option to opt out of queerness whenever it is that they want. And they use that to their advantage and to their privilege and to oppress and suppress us. And we discussed that. And I said that I am black first. Some people believe that they're black and queer at the same time.
Yeah.
Because once again, when I walk into the room and I speak with individuals, they do not see my queerness.
Mm.
They see my blackness first, second, and third. And when he made the example, and he has made this example before, that I'm making fun of these LGBTQ plus people that are white, because there is a distinct difference between being a white LGBTQ plus person and a black LGBTQ plus person.
I agree with
And
that.
and he made the example again of when they were fighting for women rights, they were black women were exempt from that. And
Mm-hmm.
Sojourner Truth had to push herself to the stage and had to let these white motherfucking ladies know, aren't I a woman?
So they so does they make so that is a defense, and they make and that advocate they make that's a defense for his joke, because it was because his jokes were, I guess, in your mind, and I guess the viewing audience were geared towards the white gaze. So that takes the weight off of what he said. Like, so that
No, I
validates me
want to
saying it,
know
because I'm trying to understand that.
who is trying to cancel him. Is it black gay people or is it white gay people?
Well,
Who's upset?
let's get into that, because here's the, and you mentioned something about, or you mentioned you were speaking about that you are black first. So, and especially because you are straight presenting, right? So for me, well,
Wonk
speaking
wonk.
honestly, womp womp. I know, I'm sorry, but straight presenting. So in my case, now I can put on the straightest thing in the world, okay, or take a picture and people like, oh, you look, like, or whatever. It depends on what it is, but generally, um, I live very deeply rooted in my intersectionality. Like, that's generally what the situation is for me. So when yes, I show up and you see I'm black, but I show up and you probably know I'm queer as well. You can probably tell. Now I'm not like, listen, I believe in everybody showing up as themselves, and if you need to be as outlandish as you need to be, and you sachet Shantae, listen, I'm with it, like 110%. I love that. But and again, some people don't, hashtag mask for mask, but like, but but at the same time, like, for me, I there's two ways, right? So with intersectionality, so for me, I'm showing up in my intersectionality as queer and black. For the world, when I walk into a room, I'm sure it's like, oh, there's that little yellow bone thing over there, that little red bone thing, like, right, like, he's still black. But like, I'm for me, it's like, okay, well, I'm queer, and especially depending on depending on the group or friends and family that I'm around, like, my comfort level varies. So like, I might get a little sachet Shantae because I might be like super comfortable and like, or whatever. And so in that case, you can tell, okay, yes, that he is queer and he is black, right? So the point I make with that is, for me, in my intersectionality, it is not I'm not trying to cancel, because cancel culture really, to me, has been created to be what, like, swaths of people that will just go, okay, well, this person's not endorsing you and this one's not endorsing you anymore, and right. For me, I don't have the ability to do that to anybody. For me, I'm gonna just hit you where where it hurts, your pockets. So I'm not gonna watch something, or I will not participate in that. And my little measly old $4.99 or whatever the hell probably isn't going to make that much of a dent, but I'm just not going to watch it because, like, for example, like, full disclosure, I also didn't watch it because, you know, I read my little articles and stuff like that, and I read what was said and all of that and whatever. So I just went, okay, I have, and I probably, to be like, not for nothing, I probably was not going to watch it anyway. That's just, I just wasn't, like, that's not even like no tea, no shade, whatever. Like, I wasn't going to watch it probably. Now the other thing, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. And I'm going to say this, and tack on to kind of what Theo said earlier. He is a brilliant comedian and he has had longevity. Okay. Now, the question here is, which is going to bring me into my next space. The question here is, did he say those things to be incensing to the people watching it? Does he actually feel that way? Is he speaking in total truth, or was he saying it to be shocking? Which also brings me to this. What my fear is that our community, since we're gonna, because right now we're gonna show up real black, okay? Our community should really, I mean, and this is just my opinion, our community should be the ones gatekeeping stuff like this.
Amen.
Okay? That's
my point.
And that's right. However, I'm going to say this as well. My fear is that this is going to continue to perpetuate the idea that it's Black Lives Matter, but not all Black lives. So not Black queer lives, not Black
But that's for
trans
us.
lives, not Black. Right. It is.
That's for us to do.
Right. But what are we doing that?
No, but that's the question that I have. Who is trying to cancel Dave Chappelle? Who is angry at Dave Chappelle? And you know what Dave Chappelle? You know what Dave Chappelle also said? He said, "Why is Kendall and Caitlyn Jenner Woman of the Year after only being a woman for 1 year?" And there's a lot of Black trans women who have issues with Caitlyn Jenner. There are a lot of Black trans women of color that could have been Women of the Year, that have been women probably longer than Caitlyn Jenner decided to be on this.
You just said it right there, though. So they have, it's really deciphering what the issue is, right? So really it's asking, okay, trans women of color, are trans women of color not happy with Caitlyn Jenner, which I don't like her raggedy ass, full disclaimer, everybody, sorry. Same, yeah. Do they not like her because she is a white transgendered woman and she is in that space, which is probably the case, and undeservedly so, in my opinion, right? Okay, so that's number one. That's one question. And then the other question is, when he said she's only been a woman for 1 year, I mean, however factual, whoever, varying degrees, whoever thinks that may be, for all you know, mentally a transgender, because again, I am also mildly ignorant when it comes to certain things like this. So, but from my understanding, it's mentally, you always felt that you were a woman and now you can physically represent that, right? So for you to say because that kind of borders on misgendering in a sense, because you're saying like, oh, you've been a woman for 1 year. Haven't you technically, emotionally and mentally been a woman your entire life, as far as you are concerned?
But is that Caitlyn Jenner's story, though?
Caitlyn Jenner, she said that.
Caitlyn Jenner comes off a little bit opportunist and performative.
Oh,
and
100%.
And I think that's what he was pointing out to. Well, there have been trans women out there living their truth. Woman of the Year could have been the trans woman that started the Stonewall riots. She should have been a Woman of the Year each year. The 100%. Black trans woman. But instead, it was Caitlyn Jenner raggedy ass that benefited from white supremacy and whiteness all of her life. She was a privileged white man, and then now she became a privileged white woman.
But see,
the problem, sorry.
The thing is, the way you said it is not how he said it. And that's the problem, because he said it, what he said was a diss. So he didn't say it to educate. A diss to Caitlyn Jenner, yes. But a diss to Caitlyn Jenner, but she's a trans woman, so it's still a diss to the community, y'all. So they're still connected. She's still trans. Whether or not it's kind of giving Caitlyn is still the community.
No, she's not still trans.
She's still a
because
trans woman.
There's a difference between Black queer people and there's a difference between white queer people.
Which
A trans is
I'm in
trans. Trans is
agreement
trans.
with.
No, it's not. White
Yes, it is.
America
Trans is
doesn't
trans.
see it that way.
But
Well, I'm in.
we see it's trans is trans. If white
No, it's
America or
not.
not, trans is trans. It's
Well,
No,
trans is
if trans was
trans.
trans, all these
Trans is
black trans girls out here will be
trans is
having the same
trans.
benefits as their white trans
and I will,
counterparts.
and I will.
The process of trans is the same. The process to become a trans woman or man is the same. There's
It's
no
not,
difference.
Jasper.
But
It
the
is the
experience,
same.
but Theo means the experience, and that I agree with. The experience
It's
in
not the
this
same.
country is different.
But I'm
It
not talking
doesn't
about the
mean the
experience.
process.
I'm not talking about the experience of
Okay.
life. I'm talking about the process of becoming a trans woman is the same. The
Oh, it's
process
the
of becoming a
same.
trans
Yeah.
man is the same. So when he made that statement, it was a diss to her because she decided to transition from a man to a woman. So it was a diss to her
No, it was
her
not. So,
because she was
but
transgender, and that was a
Dave Chappelle
problem.
was talking about the
There was a problem.
experience. Dave Chappelle was
Did
talking about
he
the
say the
experience.
experience? Did he break it down
Yes,
like that?
yes, he did. And if you look at the comedy special, he let you know that when I am talking about LGBT issues, I am talking about white people. I have made a
So
career on bashing white people. He made it very clear.
but
Back in
white
the
people, but he didn't say
60s,
I'm talking about
back
Caitlyn, not white people.
back
I'm
in the
talking about Caitlyn.
60s, back in the 50s, back in the 40s, when they were fighting for gay rights, when they were fighting for black people were not included in that.
I'm talking about Caitlyn.
Oh, of course.
I'm talking about Caitlyn. Did he say this talk about Caitlyn
He was
Jenner?
making fun of white ass Caitlyn, and he made it very clear that when he was in a show, he was in a restaurant, a white gay person called the cops on him, and he said a black gay person will never do that to him because he knows that if the police come, they're gonna shoot and arrest both of our asses because
Okay,
he's
but
talking about experience of being black in America.
it's still offensive. It's
Now,
still
did
offensive.
he?
He
Now,
still
this
shouldn't.
is
It's
my
still offensive to
question.
me.
Having because you've watched it. Did he specify that he was speaking directly, not based on his brand of comedy? Because,
No, no,
like,
no.
for
He
example, for me,
specified, Isaiah, that I am talking exactly what I'm telling you. I am not talking about black gay people. I am talking about white gay people because white gay people have the option to opt out of gayness whenever they want and exist in their whiteness. And that is a fact.
But that doesn't matter. It's obviously that didn't matter to black gay people because clearly black people are a lot of people.
People were
A lot of
not
the part of him
listening.
said. So obviously
And
they
we
didn't
should
resonate with
be,
them. They didn't see
as
it that
black
way.
queer people,
So
we should be wondering, why is it that our white counterparts have the option to opt out of queerness whenever they want? That's a
well,
conversation we should be having.
that's a
he didn't need to. He don't need to lead the
conversation. But I
conversation because he's
think,
not a part of the community.
well,
But
that's
he don't need to lead the conversation, and that's my
and I want
thing.
to add,
He
and I
don't need to
want
lead
to
the
But
add,
that is a
conversation.
fact.
and I want to add to what Jasper said a little bit too. Is although I understand that section of it, the thing that is troubling again is, I'll paint it this way. I have always felt safer for me, and it hurts me to even say it, but like I've always felt more in a safe space with other queer people of color and black women or women of color more so than I have felt comfortable in my heterosexual black brothers. I always have, because I have not received the embrace and love from them that I have received from other queer other queer people of color and black people that are queer and black women. So for me, I feel like this is, and the thing is, I feel compelled to be like the first thing was, okay, you know what? I don't like it. I'm not happy with it. I'm not even going to comment too much on it because he's still a black man. That's still my brother, right? But the reality is, from my standpoint, I don't feel safe with you, brother. Sorry, because I never have. So for me, you speaking on our community is super offensive, and it perpetuates the homophobia that often exists in our community, which is what I'm talking about, that we're not gatekeeping enough. I don't see enough straight brothers out here protecting their queer brothers at all. They will immediately go to this chauvinistic, homophobic space as soon as they get the chance, because that was what was imbued and indoctrinated in them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's hurtful, and dismissive to me. It's like, okay, so I'm up here shedding tears for every time one of my Black brothers gets gunned down, but then what about me? What about the rest of the queer community that are Black people? I don't understand. So that's why I feel that way. I feel very much like, why am I going to speak out and support and protect you just because, when within the community itself, no one's showing up for me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how I feel.
I can't argue that.
Hey.
That too is so true. Sometimes the worst homophobia that we've experienced, or the worst trauma, is from people and men that look like us.
Yeah, and it cascades. I mean, for me, I don't know if I can say that of everybody, and I don't want to speak for either one of you, but for me, that stayed with me. I don't feel like I have, other than my shout out to my best friend Vincent,
Hey,
and
Vincent.
hey, and because I don't want to, like sit up here and act like it's no, but as another queer man, and it's just like there's no other men of color, but it's like, and to one of my really, like, my brother Manny, straight man, I feel safe in those spaces, you know what I mean, like, but like and my god brother Sean, same name as my husband, just so y'all know, like, I feel safe with those are three people that immediately come to mind, that are men of color, where I feel safe in those spaces. And obviously you two, because I would not be having like a forward conversation, like conversations like this, if I didn't feel in a safe space. But again, think about the ratio of straightness to queerness in that set of people I just mentioned. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a lot. And for me, I haven't had that experience. So when I see a Black brother, my Black straight brother, up there on Netflix's platform, on Bill Gates' internet, talking all this mess as if I mean, listen, I don't know him in his personal life. I'm sure he does have a lot of gay Black friends, but I don't see you. I mean, listen, I don't follow him like that, but I don't see you out there like advocating and speaking on that level for people like us within the Black community. And and another thing I want to say really quick is, the friend that passed away, God rest her soul, was also a white transgender woman. Am I wrong about
Yes,
that?
she was white.
So it's just all very like, it's giving very, what are you doing, man? Like, there's a better way for you to, if you're gonna get up on and do the Netflix special and be funny and be comedic and be subjective about your comedy and all that stuff, then why don't you get out here and advocate in another way for your queer Black and brown brothers and sisters? That's how I feel.
It was just thought provoking. Maybe you guys should see, so you can see it and hear it for yourself. I think that he made us think.
He didn't make me think. Yeah, he made me think. I write some things, some thoughts that I won't say on this platform.
It just perpetuated for me that
I
don't
think he
trust
made
being
us
in a
think,
space
because there is a clear line that whiteness and white supremacy does not want you to be aware of. And there is that clear line that between we're all in those struggles of Olympic, or the oppression Olympics. But when it comes to white individuals, they have the option of opting out when it's beneficial to them.
You keep bringing it up as a point of reference.
Yes, because I
but it doesn't.
truly
It's not.
believe that.
But it's not. You can't. It's not a good defense for him using the jokes he used. But I just feel like he's a great. He's a legendary comedian. He has a ton of work. So
Don't forget
why
that
would
legendary.
so legendary? And that's in quotes. In quotes. But
well, he is brilliant.
I mean, he's
give him
brilliant. I
that.
mean,
I'll give him that.
I've not listened to any of his work, but I'm
Yes,
sure he's brilliant. He's been around a long time. But
absolutely.
my thing is, you're this brilliant comedian, and you can come up with all these jokes. Then why would you go take the easiest route and go to the gay jokes and use those gay jokes as a part of your stand-up routine? Like that was so easy to do, because they do all.
It
That's
was, and
was like
actually, it was
low.
very artistic of
it was
him.
easy to do. It was very easy to
It
do
was
because he
kind
did
of
it with
low
ease.
hanging fruit to me.
It was.
I gotta say. I mean, maybe on some level it was thought provoking, fine, but like, it was also low hanging fruit because what's a very hot topic right now? You know what I mean? What's going on in the world right now?
Is that still a hot topic?
It is.
I mean, I would think so.
Yeah, it's a trending topic. It's a trending topic on
We got
Clubhouse.
Haitians
It's
over
a
at the
trending topic
border
on
right
social
now
media.
I mean, well,
getting
no,
whooped. Is that
you
really a
what I'm
hot
saying.
topic now?
It is a hot topic.
Well,
the Haitians are too.
let me be clear. I'm not saying it is a more prevalent and hotter topic than what's happening at the border. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it's kind of perpetually a topic because heteronormative people always have something to say about stuff that really is none of their business. Stay in your lane.
Hi, everyone. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, it's free. 2, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast so that everyone can hear it, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. It is everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
That's a reach.
He is an ally because also, you know what he mentioned and took this to a different direction. He also mentioned, which I did not know, that the baby killed somebody in Walmart or something, and he said, I didn't know that. And he showed us the hypocrisy and the contradiction. If you offend a gay person, that is worse than you get actually murdering someone at a Kmart or at a Walmart.
So what we're actually saying is the baby should have gone taken a hike a long time ago.
And that's what he was saying.
Right, but also, okay, but they're still two separately shitty things. Like, it doesn't. You're still shitty for both things.
But he's saying that if you guys would have gave this man the boot a long time ago, he wouldn't have the stage or the opportunity
that is
to
correct.
spew his dumbness.
Yes,
but it's hypocritical for him to say that when he continuously says things that are controversial and that are very offensive. He said multiple things that are offensive. So should he be booted off stage too? Like
he has not.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. He has a history of saying things that are very problematic. Yes, he has.
Why I keep saying documentary? We should see the stand up before I sensationalize it more than what it was, and then once again they take sound bites because that's what. Because he made that joke about, and then a female trans female's constructed vagina. We do understand that there is a biological difference, right?
We do, but we don't need him to say it. We don't need him to make it.
And he was actually pointing out
Dave Chapelle to tell us the
difference
between a biological vagina
out that there was a biological difference.
But did we need him to do it?
To tell us that?
Because that's what clowns do. He's a clown, and like he wasn't sitting there being perverted about it.
Yeah, so clowns should go hang out and play in a carnival. Like
find someone to play with.
Because that's the way I took it. And again, I as a citizen, I subscribe to gender.
Whether I like to admit it or whether
you can subscribe to gender though and still be, because you don't just subscribe to gender, Theo. You also understand and empathize, because we've had conversations off of this and even on the. You don't just subscribe to that like that is your entire makeup, which you know that obviously. You also empathize and will be, like we said earlier, you'll pop up before either one of us and say something about someone being disrespectful in regards to the transgender
someone
community.
being disrespectful. If I'm going to, but he's being a comedian.
Well,
he wasn't being disrespectful.
And that's why I asked the question earlier, if he actually believes these things, or is he saying these to get a check?
To get a check, because he knew exactly.
Right.
He knew exactly when he said that shit.
I don't think he believes those things. I had lunch with him yesterday. Wink, wink, wink.
I can't.
In my mind, I had lunch with Dave Chappelle yesterday,
Oh
and
Lord.
he
Oh,
told
don't
me
say
You
that.
may not want to do that, honey, because he may get shot out there. So you may not want to have lunch with him because he
delusional party of one.
charged you,
Oh,
honey.
stop. But it's just my fear when it comes down to it is that it's just going to perpetuate the long-standing ideals and belief systems that already are within our community. Because forget about any of the other, but like that specifically, it's not about, I think a lot of people are out here going like, oh, well, you're being sensitive. No, it's not sensitive when a man goes and cuts up a transgender woman. God forgive me for saying
Not
that,
at
but
all.
it's okay. Like
At
for
all.
real. It's
It's
not,
not
it's not, let's
comedy.
get over that as well. And it's not comedy. So I just think there's certain stuff, like maybe just like keep your mouth closed. No, ain't nobody asked you. Because
Exactly.
the same way that we speak about the three of us as Black men wanting to gatekeep, that we should be gatekeeping our own community and that people should not be all up in our business. Maybe that's the same thing for the queer community. We should be gatekeeping each other.
The
Mind your
Black
business.
queer community.
Sure, but it's still if there were a lot of, because I'm a queer Black person and I ain't like it. So I did not like those comments.
Because
I just
I
didn't. And the whole Team Turf thing, like, first off, listen, I still love me some Harry Potter, but like J.K. Rowling can go kick rocks.
yeah,
Like,
because she
period.
just said a lot of things that were very, very problematic for the
Okay,
community.
because to me
So
it's like it's kind of like speaking out at, like, with that kind of stuff, like, and the way I felt it is, whether he's a jester or not, because he has this platform, it's a little concerning for you to be speaking out of both sides of your face. So you're supportive, you have a friend that's transgender that passed away, and then what, like, and then, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna say some really ignorant things, to be honest.
very.
It's like pick a lane.
And it's in the he's a jester or a clown, as Theo said. I don't. He's a black man, so I wouldn't expect a black man to even want to allow himself to be used as a clown. I would expect him to be better than that as a black man, and as a father. So I'm that makes it even worse that that it's looked at as though he's this clown, he's this jester for the white people behind the scenes. But my thing is, the energy with this is so weird because has it been a white man that made off color shows on a Netflix special, the black community and the LGBT community, black community would have the whole issue. If they wouldn't find, they wouldn't say, "Oh, it's just calm to get over it." They'll be wanting that person canceled and ripped apart. So the energy is really different, but I want to know if the energy would be the same if the situation was in reverse. That's what I want to know.
I also find it very interesting how large corporations will choose to stand behind a black man when it benefits them.
Hmm.
That's all I'm
Because
gonna say on that.
because I read today that they fired like two trans employees that were against Dave's special. So that says a lot.
Is it wrong that I don't view a trans man as someone who doesn't identify with their gender that was assigned to them at birth?
I
I
don't think
mean,
that I don't
Am I
think
transphobic because I don't see them as
no.
cisgender?
But when I said that earlier, that I am a cisgendered man, the point is, just because we accept that about ourselves and we identify with what the body we were born into, doesn't change it doesn't change that experience. First off, we are just allies, okay? So just because we identify the way we identify, it doesn't change the narrative there. In my opinion, it doesn't change the narrative, their transgender narrative in their story. I don't think that it conflates.
As a male that was born biologically different than a male that is a trans male.
Right. But
So
what does that have
we
to,
should
I
be
guess,
able to
yeah.
speak on those differences without being viewed as homophobic, as transphobic.
Right, but you can speak on differences respectfully, and you can speak on differences disrespectfully. There's a difference. You can speak
with my trans friends.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Because I've had those like, I'm a biological male, and there's certain things that I can do that a trans man cannot do.
Right. But you're not mocking them in those conversations,
And
Theo.
then
That's
I'm
the
part of the community,
difference.
so it's
Because
different
you
because
wouldn't
you're
do that.
And my
and you're part of the
trans
community,
female
so it's
friend and my
different.
trans male female friends as well, when they're talking to women, an obvious thing that yes, you are a trans woman. This is a biological differences between the two of you.
But Theo,
Right.
my but
But that's
Theo,
not,
but
you're being thoughtful. Sorry, Jasper. But you are being thoughtful and not mocking and being a safe space in those conversations. That is the difference. So you can't compare yourself to people making $4 million checks to
hmm.
mock and make fun of people like that. That's not the same. You are actually being genuine and having transparent, no pun intended, conversations with 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 those friends, with those people that are in your life. So it's not the same. I see the point you're trying to make, but it's not the same. You
It's not.
commentating, it's not. You respectfully commentating on those things. In my opinion, for you it might be, but I'm
I
not,
agree. It's
but
not the same.
it's not the same because you are, and I'm saying this because we both, like, we've all had conversations with you. We know where you stand on certain topics.
Right.
So in my opinion, it's not the same when you're, because you're not commentating on something to be divisive or to be disrespectful
But to get a
or
laugh.
to
Yeah.
make a, like, just make like a bold-faced joke of their entire existence. That's not where you're coming from. So it's different when somebody, when you have to, again, that begs the question, does he actually, Mr. Chapelle, does he actually think that? Does he believe that way? Is he team turf? Is he, that's all his stuff. Fine. You do you, boo-boo. You go collect your check. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But just understand that the same way that people commentate on anything, on any and everything to begin with, which is fine. People are entitled to their opinions. However, again, it's the vastness of that platform. So not only are you on Netflix, which, listen, we have Netflix. Okay, so does everybody. Okay, not only are you on Netflix, you are a very accomplished comedian, revered even in what you do.
hmm.
So again, that comes with responsibility. When you say certain shit, people are gonna listen. There's some people, like the three of us are set up a little differently. I can't speak for everybody else, but sometimes you'll hit the right set of people and they'll watch. I mean, let's think about something here. Maybe it's a little different because I know earlier you said that, if it's a policymaker or someone, making law or a lawmaker, then it's a little bit different. But in this day and age where a reality star became president,
Mm.
okay, all right, the
Touche.
lines got a little blurred. And guess what? He's not even in office, and you still have psychos running around here talking about he about to get resurrected like Jesus in 2024. Like, so that's why we walk a different line nowadays, where it's like you might not be a lawmaker today, but you might be tomorrow if you have the perfect amount of coin.
And like you're part of the community, so if you're saying it's going to be received differently, and so you can have those conversations. It's not going to be received as a negative thing, but a
Mhm.
full on heterosexual
That's
male
true.
having a conversation about the trans genital area in a heterosexual female genital area, it's not going to be received as a positive thing. It's going to be received as a negative thing because it was said to get the joke. It was equated for a joke. It wasn't equated together to be to give information. It was equated to get a laugh, and it got laugh, and so that was the point. That's the problem. That's the issue. He didn't say it to be informational. He didn't say it to educate heterosexual people about the trans women's bodies or the anatomy of a trans woman or trans man. He didn't. That was not his whole point. So that is the issue in itself. So I just feel like he should use wisdom because he's old enough. He's over 50, near 50. So he's wise and old enough to know what's going on in this world. He knows things that he says. He's aware of it. He makes it known that he doesn't care what people think. So that lets me know that he's aware of what he says and that he's going to say what he wants to say. Offending people or not, he does not care. And that's a problem for me too because he could at least came out and say, you know what, yeah, you know what, I made the joke. It may have offended the trans community and the gay community. I may have offended them, some of those people, and you know what I'm saying. I'm aware of that. He didn't say anything. He's not saying nothing. So that let me know he does not care. So, I don't want to be canceled. I can get less. I don't support him no way. But that shows his character because he doesn't even care. He doesn't see that he's offended people because people have a right to be offended. We are human.
And I
Right, and that's
wonder,
the same way. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wonder, so would we have received this differently? And people would have received this was a queer comedian if his jokes were written by transgender people and LGBT
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Completely
For
different. He's in the
me,
Yeah.
community.
absolutely,
And where are those people?
110%.
Where are those comedians who are queer,
Theo, go
who are
call him up. You don't
LGBTQ
know.
plus?
Go do your research. Let us know.
Listen,
Where are
there
those
are,
people?
and that's the
Shut
and
up.
that's the thing is, if it were, and honestly, again, we're going back to gatekeeping. It's the same way, like, for example, queer people should be playing queer roles. Why
There
are
you go.
straight people playing queer roles? Give it to a
Mm-hmm.
queer person that actually has lived that experience, that has some kind of emotional attachment to it, right? That's again, why are people that don't live certain experiences jumping in stuff that what you get in it for? You know what I mean? Did someone, I don't know, were his jokes written by other transgender people? I doubt that,
He
right?
wrote
I'm
his own
sure
jokes.
he
Like
writes
all
his
his
own,
jokes.
right? He
Yes.
writes his own, right? So you know what I mean? But yes, what you said, Theo, yes, I think it would be received differently if it were written by other queer people. And to go back into, what you were saying about that, you'll have conversations with transgender friends. That's, for me, it's like, and Jasper said this too, like, of course you're going to be able to have that level of conversation with those friends because it's a safe space, because we all exist in that queer space together, right? I'm going to say this also. There's conversations, I think I've said this like offline before as well. There's conversations I will have with you guys and other people of color that I'm just not going to have with my friends that are non-POC. And it's not even
Same.
because I wouldn't
Same.
sometimes. Sometimes it's because I can't always. Now I'll say, like, I've said like little things like, I'm so sick and tired of this white mother. Like, like, and I'll say it to my white best friends, like, because, shout out to my love you guys. Um, but like it's that's because of the level of closeness like we have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different. But there's some stuff like there's even a certain like a way that you'll communicate with each other when it's brothers and sisters that you might not with your white counterparts. And it's not
Yeah.
because you don't want to laugh and kiki and have a good time with them, but it's just certain things are just cultural, and it's just that's how it is, and that's okay. But again, that some of that still also on the queer side of things, some things get lost in translation when somebody is speaking about it that is not a part of that community. Because let me tell you something, if he was a white man and he got up there and he started making real ratchet black jokes, it's not going to sit well with me.
Burn the stage to
Because
the
It's
ground.
not gonna be comedy. It's not gonna be.
it's
Oh, it's
not going to be
Burn
comedy. Get
the
funny.
over
It's
stage
going
it.
to
to the
be it's
ground.
going to be you dragging your
Exactly,
nasty
Theo.
raggedy
Exactly
white
what you
ass
just
up
said.
there and talking about a community that you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about because you are not a part of that community. And I think
Exactly.
a lot of people draw this distinction between, like, okay, well, yes, the black experience can be very different than the queer experience. Now, the thing though is, for those of us living in our intersectionality, the three of us, we're queer and we're brown and black people, right? So it's kind of like, okay, so yeah, you got to gatekeep, you got to kind of like double gatekeep in a way. You know what I mean? In a way that we kind of almost shouldn't have to do, because again, all black lives should fall under the same umbrella,
They
but they
should.
don't. Not yet.
Not
Not
Thank
for
you,
yet.
everyone.
America.
They don't fall under the same umbrella. For me, I look over and it's like, okay, I don't, it's not about whether you're queer or not, or it shouldn't be. But a straight black man looking over at me might be like, a stranger might not be the same energy. It might be like, oh, okay, 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 he got a little sugar in his tank, right? Like that, those kind of phrases and things like that. And that's the kind of stuff, I heard that as a kid, from certain people. So it was like, to me, again, going back to me seeing, and again, everyone has not had that very specific experience or those very specific experiences. So you might not feel like my white female counterpart over here might not feel, she might be like, oh, well, that's funny. But growing up, she didn't have one of her male black relatives make them feel like they were an outsider or they stood out or they weren't like the other ones or you're the black sheep or you don't belong. So for me, yeah, it strikes a different chord. And to me, it's like it's okay for me to bear that level of sensitivity about it because for my experience, that's what I identify with. And for me, I'm like, no, peace, Steve. I'm not fucking with you, and I haven't.
Can
So
we
that's
just,
why I put on that.
I just wish like everyone would just respect each other's uh positions and just respect each other's wishes. If trans people or gay people don't want to be used in jokes, then heterosexual comics should respect that and should understand it, and it shouldn't even be a debate about it because at the end of the day, they wouldn't want white comedians making all color jokes about black people. There will be a problem. So I think if a respect level was there, this should not be an issue. That's the issue that we have is there's no respect on either side. There's no
But as
boundary set.
people do not see gay rights or gay issues as a civil rights issue.
That's the problem.
So that
Right.
comparison to give to people or to is falling on deaf ears until
Of
people
course.
first see that the black movement and the gay movement and the black gay movement are equivalent.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I agree with it because I was told that gay people are getting more things passed for them than black people, and I was just stunned because they making it seem like gay people are just living all gay people are living this luxurious life, and that we got to make them don't. So like just because I get the issue that black laws not being passed have not been passed for black lives. I understand it, but gay people are still having a struggle. We're still living in a struggle to this day. So
Mm-hmm.
to undermine it and make it seem like all gay people are living fabulously and we don't have to worry about being attacked or being killed or trans we don't have to worry about being killed on a daily basis is absurd. And this is it's very absurd. It's like wow, this is what conversations are being spun into, and it was spun off of the Dave Chappelle comedy special. This conversation was spun, particular one was spun. I was like, wow, so this is like drawing all these things out. Like, okay, like it. I just this is like
And just to add,
oh, it's the police.
Again, last time we recorded, the fucking ambulance came by too. Like, what the fuck?
every time I know, it's like they know. I want to say this too, just so everyone understands. Straight America eats that kind of shit up. Okay, they eat it for dinner. They love that shit. So it's something to think about. Something to think about.
Think about it, people.
Think about it.
Think about it. Discuss it among yourselves. Don't at me. Don't DM me. No, you can DM me as long as you're nice.
Write a
Talk to
report
me
about
nice.
it and send it to your mother.
Yes, send to your
Talk to
mother,
me.
honey.
Talk to me nice.
Talk to me nice.
Talk to me nice, or don't talk to me at all. Talk to me nice, or mind your business.
That part.
There you go.
And your lane. I mind my business. You mind your business, and we can coexist in this world together. If that attitude was practiced by everyone, we would be in a better place and space and time. But until then, we're gonna be in this shitty situation, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that this is not the last that we're gonna hear of trans jokes or gay jokes said by comedians. It's not gonna be the first, not gonna be the last. So I'm being sure this is only like it's set the platform. So it's gonna be more and more. I'm just saying. I can see it. Like it's gonna be more and more.
I want more trans and LGBTQ plus comedians to come to the forefront, to shine.
Yeah,
to tell our own jokes.
That's the thing,
To tell our own stories, to make fun of our own community. Where are those at? I want to see those folks.
We have one.
Yes.
There is one. Flame Monroe. She's
absolutely not. And then
she is one.
That note,
and she supported Dave Chappelle. And
Flame Monroe is not funny. Flame
but
Monroe
she supported
is
Dave Chappelle.
corny.
She's a comedian, and she supported him, and she had his back on the Breakfast Club
But Flame
yesterday.
and Roll
I
is
heard
not
that.
funny though.
But she's not. She's not. I mean, she's not funny. But she supports Dave Chapelle.
I'm
She is a
sure there
trans
is a
woman, so
queer
she supported
LG.
him. You know what I'm saying? She supported
There
him.
actually are and I follow a few on Instagram. Maybe I'll like put it up like, you know, with one of our stories you know, for us. But uh there's a couple of really great queer comedians that are people of color that I
That are
follow
funny.
that to me are funny. You know, everyone's again, comedy is like we said from the beginning, comedy is subjective, but you know, I
So is beauty.
think they're funny. Yeah, well, you know, determined by me, it's funny. It might not be funny to you guys. I mean, we'll see.
But I want someone to be just as equally funny and, you know, equity.
Thought-provoking.
The reason, but you know what
Equity.
it is too. Yes, equity, but also, again, of course, you're going to be funny when you're talking about people that aren't like you.
But that's beautiful. Wouldn't that be funny to have a queer or LGBTQ plus comedian do exactly what Dave Chappelle is doing, making fun of straight people?
Oh, it'd be amazing. And
But
have
where
them not
are
be,
they?
yeah, and have them not be Ellen. Absolutely.
And where are they? No, that's a different set of issues. Where are they? They're out there.
Yeah,
They're out there.
Be
They're
just as
here.
controversial as Dave Chappelle, just on the opposite side of the spectrum.
But they're
not
here.
giving a fuck about that.
You say you want Dave Chappelle thought-provoking. Well, Flame Roll is thought-provoking. She provokes everybody's thoughts, and she speaks more against the trans community. She actually speaks his rhetoric. So, and she supported him, and she advocated for
And
him on the
she's
Breakfast
trans,
Club.
so look at that.
And yes, it's trans, but she does not identify as a trans woman. She actually identifies, and she actually lives her life as a male. She's attracted to trans
yes,
trans men.
Jasper's right, actually.
So you know, so
I discovered her on just as a quick aside, and then you can continue. I discovered her on They Ready or She Ready? Is that what it's called? The Tiffany Haddish special on Netflix, and she had a set of female comedians, and I learned that on there. Now, she wasn't as I'm gonna co-sign with Theo said with this. She was not as funny to me as the rest of the women on there. I just didn't laugh as much, you know, like,
but
or whatever.
if she's not trans, isn't it disrespectful then that we're calling her a she? Like,
but she's. I mean,
that's a good question.
She's a trans woman, but she does not identify herself as trans woman. Her what you call those what she likes to be they're he, she, and we. That's what she says. So she does not identify herself as a trans woman, and so she has children, and she's attracted to trans men, but she's not attracted to like she'll date a regular man, but she's attracted to trans men, you know, she dates trans men.
Oh no, this is for a different episode. Oh my god.
But she supports Dave Chappelle, and she came out and supported him and on the Breakfast Club, which is the biggest network radio station in New York. She supported him.
Didn't she also
advocated for him, honey?
Didn't she also, Jasper? Did she speak on CNN with Don Lemon, or was that?
She did.
She did.
Yes.
Yeah. So she, you know.
I saw that. I was very
Black Jesus help us.
Yeah, she's very problematic for the trans community. Very problematic, honey. She's very problematic for the trans community because you know they don't like the things she says about them. So you know.
It's giving very Caitlyn Jenner to me, but
it is. But she's black. That's the difference.
Yeah, I approve that message.
You know, but Theo, she was in it. She may come you may get to see her on her shows because she tours all around the world. So you may
on whose show?
Flames. You may get to see her live. She may come back to New York and do a show.
Absolutely not. She won't be getting my dollars or whatever.
Oh, no, she's not getting not one drop of my not a itty bitty little drop of my coin.
No, God knows I hate pennies. She won't even get my goddamn penny.
Okay, I hate a penny because she a rusty penny. On that note,
good night, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
Yes. Until next time. Good night, everyone.
Yes.